Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you surely know by now that this is my deep dive into a brilliantly educational deck called the Egyptian Tarot by the Brotherhood of Light. And just in case you are new here, let me give you the lowdown. What do I do in a deep dive? This is my second deep dive on this channel, and it's become kind of a pattern. What do I do? At night, before I go to bed, I riffle shuffle the deck I'm trying to learn. I'm riffle shuffling. Yes, I'm riffle shuffling the Egyptian Tarot by the Brotherhood of Light. And I shuffle in the question, what would I benefit from giving my attention to the following day? And then I pull my daily draw card. In this case, I also have the out-of-print version of that deck that was printed around the time I was born. It's in charcoal gray and white. Yeah, the new deck, the modern version is in color. The older version is in what I call charcoal gray and white. And so I pull that matching out-of-print card and I look at them and I notice the similarities and I also check the differences. And then I use another deck to help me out, to help me unpack the deck I'm trying to learn. And the deck I'm using as my helper deck this time is the Tarot of the Holy Light by the brilliant, beautiful Christine Payne-Towler. And so I do a 3-card spread with that deck. The first card is the significance of the daily draw for me the following day. The second card is the challenge, either positive or negative. And the third card is the advice, a significance, challenge, advice. And then I go to bed and I wake up and I live my day. And at the end of the day, I analyze the spread and see how those, the meanings, the significances, the associations to the spreads, the cards, the way they interact, either revealed themselves to me easily during the day or perhaps require a little bit more reflection on my part. And then I do a video, which is what I'm doing now. So friends, I've got the daily draw card all ready for us. Let me show you that card right now. The daily draw card for me today was Judgement. Interesting, no? And did you notice that Judgement is associated with the moon in this deck? And that moon coming up reminded me of the High Priestess, which came up for me yesterday in yesterday's spread. So I saw that moon and I thought, High Priestess. But I mean, of course, I didn't think the card was the High Priestess, but that card came back to me when I saw this card. The memory of it being in the spread the day before came to me. And let me show you that card up close and personal again, both in color and black and white. You can see that they're very similar. The figures coming up out of the sarcophagi, because there are two, one on each card, the sarcophagi are, they're drawn differently a bit, yeah. They look like different generations of Egyptians, don't they? But generally, the card looks very, very similar. Yeah, let me read you the description of the image on the card. Yeah, what we see is a sarcophagus with a scarab on it. Do you see the scarab down in the center of the side of the sarcophagi? The scarabs. A genie blows a trumpet. A man, woman, and child rise, still dressed in their winding sheets. Yes, they're both. In both cards, they are still wrapped up like mummies, right? The sarcophagus is the tomb through which man ascends to a higher life. The scarab is a symbol of the immortality of the soul, which helps us to be able to ascend to the higher life, right? The genie blowing the trumpet is the call to ascend to higher spheres. And this genie, I don't know if it struck you, but this genie looks a lot like the genie in the two paths card, which is card 6 in this deck and would be the lover or lovers card in other decks. That genie looks very, very similar, though the genie's on the other side of the card. A man, where was I? So yes, the genie blowing the trumpet is the call to ascend to higher spheres. A man, woman, and child arise together to indicate that immortality depends upon the trinity of positive, the negative, and the soul monads united about their deific ego. So we've got both the positive aspect, the negative aspect, and then the unity of the soul monad all together in their divine ego, the divine self. Yeah? The innocence of the ego is represented by the child, which is the third one, right? The male would probably be the positive, the female, the negative. That's very stereotypical. And then the child is the ego, is the innocence of the ego. The total image symbolizes entering into a new and active life in a realm above matter. And boy, that card, I just let that sink down as I was talking to you, didn't I? Sorry, my shoulder is getting tired. So that's what we see here. Yeah, we see the idea of the unity of the unification of self as we are called to rise into the eternalness of our natures here. We have the scarab as the a representative of eternity, our eternal natures, as we come up out of the sarcophagus. Yeah, the very interesting, beautiful description of the card, I think. Of course, the color version is easier to see, but basically they really are the same card. You can see that, right? Now, we also see the association of the moon, like I said. So we have the moon, which is, of course, residing in Cancer. So we have the moon is, what do I want to say? What I want to say is this Judgment card points to the moon, which resides in Cancer, from which the cardinal water's vital attributes enter our world. Yeah, we got cardinal water here with Cancer, which is indicated being the home of the moon, at least to me. We also have indicated here the Hebrew letter Resh. Resh kind of looks like, well, like this. Yeah, it might be like this for you, but to me it looks like this. And Resh is the head, the beginning of a new cycle. Also abject poverty, like the head of the person bowed down in poverty. Holding the number 200, it points to both wickedness, and higher consciousness. So there's a duality in Resh here. It also points to the Om, not the Om, but the rune Manas, which looks like an M, two M's kind of linked up together to me. And Manas means destiny, self-knowledge, spiritual power, intelligence, foresight, and creativity, divine order and awareness, all things that seem very reminiscent of judgment, not justice, judgment. In reverse, it could be depression and self-deception, I believe. But Manas, upright, it reminds me a lot of many of the attributes I think of when I think of the Judgment card. But what does the guidebook say about this card in particular? Well, awakening or resurrection are clearly parts of the card. Also, nothing is more permanent than change is what is reminded to us of this card in this deck. So the only thing we can count on is change, right? Things will be different. It tells us to banish idleness with action, and an end is also a beginning. Things that end are also beginnings. The turning of a page in life, the rising above emotional turmoil, which would have been beneficial for me today, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Establishing new personal relationships, also something that could be important for me today. There is the potential of this card representing a kind of death as a transition. Passing of an old condition leads to a new one. Through perception, there is awareness. Have you ever heard the poem? Was it Blake who wrote the Doors of Perception? If the doors of perception were but clean, and now the rest of it's gone from me, but the importance of that our perception is often not as clear and clean as we think of it. And if it were as clear and clean as it could possibly be, we would perhaps be overwhelmed, is what I recall as the meaning of that. Broadening your mentality. Timing is of the essence. Shun ease and comfort for progress. Yeah. So it's not promising that this rise is going to be an easy rise. Yeah. It can be challenging. It could require effort on our parts, but that will move us in the direction. That will move us in the direction of progress, which is always good. Progress, evolution are, I believe, always good, because the arc of history always moves towards progress and justice. So, justice is a good thing too. Now, yeah, this is Judgment. It's not the Justice card, but still. So that was my daily draw card for the day. And I pulled 3 cards to help me unpack this Justice card. Let me show you those cards right now. What did you think? Did you think, man, he's got that picture upside down? Well, no, I don't. And I was frankly just momentarily a little bit taken aback by that 3-card draw to help me unpack this card. And you saw from left to right, we had the 6 of discs, Judgment again, in the challenge card, in this challenge spot of the spread, we had Judgment again, and then we had Strength, 2 majors, 1 minor, all in, say it with me, reverse. Yes, all 3 cards were reversed. Now, if you know me in my use of this deck, you will know that I intentionally shuffle in reversals to the Tarot of the Holy Light every time I riffle shuffle, and I riffle shuffle the heck out of it. And I have been riffle shuffling the heck out of it with reversals since the first time I riffle shuffled it, which was the first time I used it as a deep dive as my deck for a deep dive about 7 months ago. So now it's been very interesting. I was about to say I've been very fortunate, but upright cards are not necessarily fortunate. Reversed cards are not unfortunate, but still my unconscious mind still leaps there briefly every time I see a reversed card. It's unfortunate, but I have been blessed. I have received upright cards fairly frequently in the last few days. I mean, like 3 cards all upright, or only 1 card reversed. Today we got all 3 in a line reversed, so that was significant. And like I said, for the briefest moment I was like, oh crap. But then I realized then I remembered, no, this is help. This is what is going to save the day for me, perhaps. And so again, 6 of discs, Judgment again reversed, and Strength as the advice, also in reversal. And what do we get from the 6 of discs? The 6 of discs, we have 6 groupings of platonic solids in different colors, beautifully designed and created here, in their own little orb, their own little wreaths of flowers amongst a bunch of other vibrant plants. Beautiful card. Yeah, flowers everywhere, just gorgeous. And there are 2 pheasant, I think they're pheasant, down there at the bottom too. Can you see them down there? Well, they're going to be harder to see because this is the way it showed up for me, right? It's the 6 of discs. Now, upright or reversed, the 6 of discs is both Taurus and Venus. So the 6 of discs points to the Taurus decadent of Taurus, because it's the first decadent of Taurus, the Taurus decadent of Taurus and its subruler, Venus, from which the fixed aspect of fixed Earth's vital attributes enter our world. Taurus is a fixed sign. Yeah? So the fixed aspect of fixed Earth's vital attributes enter our world, enter our natal charts, and enter the answer to the question that we've posed to the tarot. So Venus is beaming through supercharged Taurus into the answer to our question, but here in reverse. And because it's reverse, we get, instead of an additional domicile, we have a similar, which means that Venus is in the other sign that she resides in. In addition to Taurus, it is Libra. So we also have Venus in Libra here as a reversal. And the book points to things like potential for lack of mutual respect. People scheming to take advantage of each other could be indicated in this card in reverse. Imbalance of power, keeping people apart. That imbalance of power could be keeping people separated. So instead of the idea of Venus in Libra joining people together, there's a separation here. The powerful person's offers come with strings attached. Yeah, the one who has the money, the influence, the whatever, who has more of that than the other person, is being beneficent, but with, again, strings attached. So this card reminds us that it's essential to get our values in focus. What are we here to do? And it asks some questions. What is worth spending precious time and energy on? What is worth compromising some part of our freedom for? No? Because every time we make a choice, our infinite potential is in a way limited. Right? That's a way of limiting our freedom in a sense. Now, even a choice for freedom would reduce our potential for bondage, which reduces our freedom in a sense. We have the freedom to be bound if we want to. But if we choose freedom, that freedom to bondage is also decreased, right? So the fullness of our freedom is reduced. Every time that we make a choice, every time we move ourselves in the direction of something, or we place ourselves in the middle of some choice. Yeah, that's it. That's the only word that's coming to mind, is choice. So, and that's what I think this card is here to remind us of, is our values and our choices. And what is the significance of those things? Which makes sense because of Venus being in Libra in the reversal. So that was what was helping me unpack this, is, I suppose, when we're being called at all times, we have an infinite potential of things we could allow ourselves to move in the direction of. And so discernment is called upon. We are called upon to use our discernment. And I think part of this being unpacked by this is discernment, right? And so the challenge for me is judgment in reverse. And we just went through the whole thing of Resh being the bent over, perhaps poverty, but also the head, beginnings of a new cycle. We've got Manaz, destiny, self-knowledge, spiritual power, all that wonderful stuff. But again, in reverse, that would be, what did I say? In reverse, that could be self-deception or depression even. So the challenge might be in judgment, a few things. But here, we just want to remind us that in this deck, we have different associations. And let me show this card. I'm just flipping it around here instead of actually showing you the card. We have at the top this beautiful angel with wings. We have 3 figures at the bottom, one of them lying down on the ground. Doesn't look like that figure is going to be getting up anytime soon, but 2 figures are in the process of rising, right? There's the world. Well, it's not really a world. It's like a blue dome, right? With a bird on top of it. Beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful card. The design is gorgeous. And it looks very much like a Saturn, like a Judgment card. And you notice at the bottom that the association here is Saturn. Yeah? Okay, well, anyways. So, what does that tell us? It tells us that in this deck, instead of Judgment pointing to the moon, Judgment points to Saturn, which resides in both Capricorn and Aquarius, from which these cardinal earth and fixed air's vital attributes enter our world. Now, so we've got Saturn in both of its signs, but this time it's reversed. And Judgment appeared for me as a challenge on February 12th. Actually, all of both the Six of Discs, Judgment, and Strength have appeared for me at least once before in this deep dive, which is not surprising. Of doing a deep dive of 50 days, cards are going to start repeating themselves. We've only got 78 of them in a deck, right? So this came for me. This was a challenge card for me on February 12th, but it was upright. Now it's a challenge card for me in reverse. And Saturn here shatters the structures that are used up in reversal here. That are used up, flimsy, unsustainable. Yeah? The Kabbalistic attribute for Saturn is peace, which is interesting. The peace of all discord shattered in a single instant and only that one harmonic left. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. This card did not appear for me upright before, it appeared for me reversed. So the only warning attached to this card is that, let me tell you, is that the price of responding to this call may be to lose your former self. That's the only price, that you can lose your former self. Anything less than full commitment is inappropriate given the opportunity being offered. What stands to be gained is more worthy than what would be lost in the larger scheme of things. If you can't give a yes to this energy when it appears, then be truthful with yourself and let it go completely. The greatest sin in response to Judgment stems not from rejecting it, but from being oblivious to it. Powerful. So, the Six of Discs in reverse was telling us, or telling me, what do you want? What are your values? What is important? What is worth giving up your freedom for? And hopefully you will be able to say that there are some things that are worth giving up your freedom for because there are important things in our lives. For example, I would not give up my freedom to become a Roman Catholic priest. But I still wanted to study theology. So I did that. I studied theology, but I gave up my freedom of doing other things when I chose to study theology because that was important for me. Now that was giving up our freedom to make a positive choice in our lives is a good thing. So I think that's what these two cards together are trying to tell me, maybe even us, to consider. And that Saturn, those Saturn attributes, those Saturn powers of cutting things off. Yes, you make this choice, you say yes to the call, and so then you cut off this old stuff that is no longer viable, really. Instead of living in the grave of what has accumulated around your life, and instead of having to go through another shock of a tower where everything cracks apart and you're not ready for it, you can choose to follow a call and rise up from it. And Saturn will cut the rest of it off. That makes sense, yes? So, what is the advice for me? The advice was strength in reverse. Yes, strength in reverse. And let me show it to you upright. This is a powerful card. This powerful woman with her red hair flaming and a volcano matching her flaming hair erupting in the background, right? Yeah. The lion is in front of her, protecting her, but she is radiating. She's both nourishing. Yeah, there's this stream of maybe milk pouring out of one breast, right? Nourishing, I'm sorry, both breasts, nourishing the land around her, but also out of her flaming red hair and the smoke coming out of the top of her head, there's also this powerful stream of air energy, just like a typhoon out of her mouth, right? And you see that strength is what we have. We have Mars as the attribute down here. So in both upright and reverse, strength points to Mars, which resides in both Aries and Scorpio. Scorpio is one of my planets. It's one of my signs. It's my ascending sign, from which these cardinal and fire and fixed waters vital attributes enter our world. Yeah, Mars in Aries is giving us cardinal fires vital attributes, and Mars in Scorpio is giving us the the fixed waters vital attributes. And this card showed up for me on January 17th as a challenge, and on January 31st to unpack as my significance card, the Six of Cups. And both times this one was upright. Yeah, Judgment has come up reverse for me, but this has both times been upright, and today, for the first time, it has shown up in reverse. And the Hebrew association for this card is kaf, which kind of looks like a C a little bit to me. And the ancient meaning of kaf is to bend and to curve, like the shape of a palm. Also to tame and subdue, which kind of gives us that strength feeling, right? To tame, to subdue that wild beast within, to make friends with it, are some ways that many of us think of the strength card. Also, the need to bend self in a modesty and accept others. Now that bending of self, like we had with Resh, the head of the poor bowed down with poverty. Here we have the kaf, bending in humility. Which is interesting because the shape of the letter is different at the end of which would be on this side for me, at the end of a word, I think, or maybe a sentence. Yeah, in a sentence or a word, the end, it's an upright letter but curved as an initial letter. At least that's what I understand. And so that significance in some sources is that we bend in humility with friends in order to have our upright dignity. Yeah, our bowed heads in humility is what gives us our upright dignity, which is interesting, right? Especially in association with the strength card, I think. For runes, we've got Isaz. Isaz means ice, and I don't see much ice here, but Isaz is ice, which could be rest, willpower, and concentration. Ice is concentrated water, right? Also, standstill. Ice doesn't move very much. Waiting and pushing, pausing, waiting, pausing, ice. Waiting for the opportunity to melt and flow again later, but right now, pausing. It can also be a physical or psychological barrier. So, according to the guidebook, according to the wonderful creator of this deck, strength is the taming and refining power of love, working through wisdom to harmonize creation and organize all. Now, the taming and refining power of love. Kind of a Martian kind of love, right? Courage and fearlessness to engage with one's challenges. Spiritual force, little scorpion, right? Strength of heart and principles, very scorpion, like scorpion. Um, and the internal work of all of this, the internal work of doing all of this, I think is what this card in reverse is. And so I'd like to read just a little bit from the guidebook here. It says here, we are brother and sister. There is no contest. We have no reason to fight or squabble with each other. Our responsibility right now is to acknowledge our kinship, to solve mutual problems, and to expand the field of our understanding so it includes the whole web of life. So this card in reverse, I think, becomes a little bit more relational rather than my individual psychology and the coming into my power by the union of self, of higher and lower, if we want to put those labels on themselves. More what? Superconscious, unconscious, joining together to our great power and strength. Here we've got more interpersonal relationships rather than internal integration, I think, which is interesting because a lot of my day was relational. I had some very, very interesting, beautiful interactions with people, not in person today, but from far away. One was an email from my mom, which was wonderful. And I also I received some pictures from I received a picture from my mom. And so I sent that picture out to the rest of the relatives because she's not her caregivers keep her somewhat contacted with other relatives, but still, I think it was more important for me to spread the picture around, if that makes sense. So I did that. Also spoke to a dear friend in Thailand and a new dear friend in Indonesia, dear friends that are becoming more important for me. Let's see, what else? Oh, yes. And I went to the library and had some good interactions that was in person, yeah. Interactions with a coworker and some of the kids. We had a little bit of fun. Not too many kids, but just a couple, but still, it was fun. I came home and I got ready. I'm going to be baking. I'm going to be baking another loaf of bread tonight. So I got that all prepared. I got my stuff uploaded for my Facebook group page for Terre de Marseille practice. Yeah, that was my day, except I'm not telling you the entire truth. There's been this thing that's been happening since late last night, since the last video I filmed, and since I pulled these cards, frankly. Have you ever heard someone say that I've got the dropsies? And okay, so there's actually a disease that was called the dropsies. That's not what I mean. I mean, when people start feeling klutzy. Well, for me, I've not had the dropsies, I've had the knock it oversies. And it's not only knocking things over. I had a really, really hard time last night. I mean, it made me feel like it was Mercury retrograde for just a moment. But then I realized it's not only communications, it's much broader in scope than that. But yeah, I had the hardest time getting my computer to render the video and then upload the video last night. It was very, very strange. Then when I got to the office, I was trying to clean and I just started knocking things over. I mean, crystals went flying across the room when I wasn't doing. I was just wiping my desk off and but then, and in the middle of that, one of the now, so it sounds stereotypical and it sounds sexist, but it's the truth. one of the cleaning women, all of the people who clean the buildings at our university are middle-aged to elderly women. So one of the cleaning women came to me and offered to clean my office while I was in the middle of cleaning it. And at first my first reaction was to say no, because one thing, that's a little embarrassing, having somebody else who is not it's not her job to clean my office, who it isn't their job to come and clean my stuff for me. Two, my office wasn't in a condition for somebody else to clean, if that makes sense. Yeah, I had stuff piled up on top of things for various reasons. One, to get them off of the floor so that I could wipe the floor. But I also had, the tops of counters were, my table, were cluttered with stuff. That I'm getting ready for a video that I want to film, stuff that were packaged material from things I've received. Just things were a mild chaos, and having somebody else that isn't my mother, come in and offer to clean when I feel it looks kind of chaotic was a little embarrassing. So I wanted to say no, but then I remembered the judgment card. And I thought, no, this is not the day to say no. This is the day to commit to saying yes to things with discernment. And this seemed like a discerning yes. So I said yes. And she came in and she wiped up the little bit of the floor that I had not gotten to yet. And she went out and got a different mop and mopped for me. And we talked a little bit, but it was in the talking, I think, that was the good thing. She helped. One, her offer to help me clean my office was touching and felt very good. But also the conversation that we had was not long, but also very good. So that was nice. That was wonderful. And she reminded me something that I already knew, that she was only offering because there was nothing really else to do around the school, because nobody else was there. No students. All the faculty were off doing, all the other faculty were off doing another kind of a workshop, mostly play, but workshop, which is something that happens here in Korea. And so I was in my office and one of the only people in the building. And so that's why she had the time to come in and help me clean my room. And she wanted to remind me that when the students are there, that she wouldn't be able to do that. I said, yes, I know very well. So that was that. But so again, crystals flying around across the room. When I got to the library today, that was one big thing. Another big thing, I got to the library today and I went to help somebody else, and I guess my foot caught the power cord to my laptop and the laptop went flying off the counter to the floor. Thank the divine, the laptop still works, but there's a weird dent in it that I can't get undented. And I don't know what to do about that yet, but that really got me angry at myself. The crystals flying also got me angry at myself. And then when I got home and I was putting dried dishes, we wash dishes, I put them in the drainer and then they dry, and I was putting them away. And as I was putting them away, I knocked a shot glass, my one shot glass from Lithuania, which is one of my ancestral countries, fell off the shelf and crashed in the sink and shattered. Got angry at myself for doing that too. Also, I'd seen I'd gotten a message on my phone that the proofing basket for a boule, which is like which is basically a bowl, a wicker bowl, a rattan bowl that you proof a round loaf of bread in, came. And it was way smaller than, I swear to the divine, I checked the size when I ordered it, and this was not the size I was expecting. I can't do anything with this. So I've been so excited. I'm going to make the bread tonight, and this this proofing basket arrived and I couldn't use it. So that was a little irritating. I banged myself up a couple of times today too. So there are all of these weird accidents happening to me since I pulled these cards. But also there are some beautiful things that happened as well. That felt like the following of the call in many instances. So what the heck am I supposed to make of that? Hopefully, when I pull my daily draw for tonight, it will end the curse of my breaking things and dropping things and unknowingly throwing things across the room. We'll see what happens tomorrow. If I'm still alive, we'll see. But yeah, what do you think? What do you think? Maybe maybe some of that dropping of things and breaking of things was like Saturn cutting off things, expressing that cutting off of things a little bit, maybe. But my laptop crystals, my shot glass, but still, it could be a reminder. Maybe they weren't devastating things. No lives were ended. My computer still works. So maybe it was just the crystals did not break. Maybe they were just reminders of those choices that you're making are going to have cutting off effects. And if that's true, I think I'm happy with those cutting off effects that would follow from them, maybe. I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. What do you think? And if you are still here, thank you very much. And hit that thumbs up button so that YouTube knows that you got something out of this and other people might get something out of it too. It helps the channel. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and hit the alarm bell so you get notifications of when I upload videos. If you are my friend from Indonesia, hello. I blow you a kiss. Yeah, where was I? Subscribe. Oh, if you want to get these decks, I have links below. Yeah, if you want to get this deck by Christine Payne-Towler, the Tarot of the Holy Light, I highly, highly recommend it. There's a link below. If you want to get the color version of this deck, it's very inexpensive. It's readily available at Amazon. There's a link below. If you want to get a reading from me, my email address is below. thehangedmaninthemoon@gmail.com. Send me an email and we'll get you a reading, whatever style you want. We can match your interests and your needs. And friends, now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.